Complete domination for the San Francisco 49ers over the Chicago Bears in Week 14, 38-13 win. Immediate reaction right now, Locked On 49ers Rapid React post-game live, and a ton of game balls to give out in this one, Croc. Coming up on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love and appreciate all the everydayers out there. We see you, and we see the new listeners, too, joining us daily here. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube or wherever you are listening to this podcast. And today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play just $5. All right, Croc. 38-13, huge win, huge bounce back for the San Francisco 49ers at home against the Chicago Bears. Sunny Santa Clara, no more snow on the ground for them this week, and everything was sunshiny for the San Francisco 49ers. A few injuries creeping in late in the game that I think we need to recognize as well. But I think we just have to start kicking out the game balls right away, because I've got a ton of them, Croc. I'm sure you've got a lot of guys that you could award a game ball to. But I think the first one has to go to 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, right? Back against the wall. He's been taking a lot of grief. John Lynch this weekend, or I think it was Friday morning in his KNBR hit, talking about how it's asinine to be calling for Kyle Shanahan's job with what he has done so far as a head coach of the San Francisco 49ers. All the adversity the 49ers have faced this year, losses mounting, back-to-back losses, things not looking great. You have to win this football game, and they come out fast. And not only did they come out fast and put a whole bunch of points up early, go right down the field and score, 3 and out, come back and right down the field and score again. The way they scored, they did a lot of the stuff, Croc, that we've been talking about. It's like, let's get back to the basics a little bit. Let's throw some screens. Where's that catch and run? George Kittle early and often, right? And then it just all came together. That the first drive was perfection, Croc. The little Guerendo underneath, let the young guy who's fast catch the ball in space and run, right? George Kittle tight end screen ends with a Jauan Jennings touchdown. It was just perfect. And then the defense came to play as well, giving them the ball back time and time again and getting after the opposing quarterback more than we've seen in recent weeks as well. So good all around. First game ball goes to head coach Kyle Shanahan.
You know, my Twitter started blowing up with our listeners, basically pointing out, I think Kyle Shanahan listened to the podcast. He's doing what you asked, Croc, and he's getting the ball into George Kittle's hands. And it was a very deliberate attempt to get him the ball. There are times where, again, guys can have big games in the 49ers offense because just, the plays are designed up. This guy's open. Boom, let's get him the ball. But I really like seeing them make it the effort to get certain guys the ball. And they did that early and often with George Kittle. And, you see the kind of game he had, 151 yards through the air. Now, I'm looking right now at his targets. I won't complain because the 49ers won. But in another game where maybe it is a little bit closer, if George Kittle has 6 catches, but it's on 6 targets, I'll probably still – I would say, well, why didn't you try to get him the ball more?
Yeah, 150 yards on
151.
151 on 6 receptions on 6 targets. How about 10 targets and 200 yards, right? It's like, and they, they didn't can't be in this game. No, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah, beggars can't be choosers. And I don't want to act like this person that nothing Kyle does is good enough. But I brought this up in, I want to say it was the Green Bay game where George Kittle had like 6 catches on 6 targets and you lost by a bunch of points. I'm like, well, if this guy is getting the ball, he's catching, run after catch, he's doing all these things, why wouldn't you look to get him the ball more? But again, I like the deliberate effort early on. Obviously, the 49ers got way ahead. And from there, it's like, well, we don't have to dial up these things to George Kittle. Let's just play within the constructs of our offense. And I thought overall, Kyle Shanahan called a very, very good game. I don't think that the Chicago Bears had an answer really for anything that Kyle wanted to do, especially when he dialed those things up.
Game ball for George Kittle then?
Oh, that's easy.
Just reminding everybody and reminding Kyle. I was like, yeah, this is what happens when you get me the football and early too. So I love the second play of the game, dialed up for him, tight end screen. He makes the play. 25 yards a catch for George Kittle this game on his 6 catches, 151. So phenomenal.
How many yards of the catch? And that's the thing too, right? Like my thing isn't just just get the ball in George Kittle's hands and throw it to him. It's the more you get the ball in his hands, the more there's an opportunity for him to do something special, for him to do something that a lot of other guys on the 49ers aren't doing, or especially right now, right? Like they keep getting the ball to Deebo Samuel. It just hasn't quite looked the same. But George Kittle has been very consistent with, man, you get me the ball and you get me the ball in space and you dial things up for me. The run after catch, that is always an option for him. So to see him, catch the ball and then just break a tackle, run for 15, 20 more yards. It's like, that's always there because he's always going to be a mismatch for anybody that's guarding him. Unless you put, like maybe they put Jalen Johnson on him, but now he's much bigger than Jalen Johnson. But you got linebackers and safeties trying to guard George Kittle. He's going to catch the ball in space and he's going to be able to do what he did, which is pick up a lot of yards after catch. So I don't think they can throw the ball to George Kittle enough to really please me. But in a game where you're up 24-0 at halftime, I'll say that was enough in this game.
The yak, the yak was back, and that was kind of part of what we were talking about with getting the ball out early. The ball was coming out earlier, and giving guys a chance to run after the catch in this game. And saw it from Guerendo, saw it from George Kittle. Obviously, is the wide back dead though? Deebo Samuel 5 carries is kind of the quasi backup running back in this game for part of it. Patrick Taylor came in later and carried the ball more when Isaac Guerendo left the game. Looks like a foot injury for Isaac Guerendo. I don't think it's super serious. I saw him running on the sideline a little bit, but got dinged up as Kyle Shanahan. Running backs tend to do 15 carries. There we go, another injury for another running back, Isaac Guerendo. But man, 78 yards on those 15 carries, 2 tutties on the ground, plunged it in short. And I asked the question: Is the wide back dead? 2.6 yards per carry for Deebo Samuel. Before we give our official game ball to Isaac Guerendo, is the wide back dead, or was the wide back more about Mike McDaniel and his wrinkles in the offense than it is about Deebo Samuel right now?
I think there are a lot of positives that happened from this game, so I don't want to be Debbie Downer or be negative on anything, but you're asking if the wide back is dead. I think the question should be, is Deebo Samuel dead? Like, what's going on, Deebo? 2 catches, 22 yards. He only got 3 targets. I feel like, his targets just aren't quite there. It's almost like the 49ers are trying to figure out, okay, well, how do we really utilize him? Like, how do we get him going? 2 catches, 22 yards. I want to say that, but one of his catches was 20 yards. So the other catch was 2 yards. I thought that was a little screen to the flat to the left side. They're struggling to figure out how to get Deebo to be more productive in a way that's needed. So is the wide back dead? I mean, is Deebo Samuel dead? Is this have we seen the best version of Deebo and like that's it? Like everything that Deebo has been for the 49ers, it's behind him. I saw an article from Mayoko, or somebody pointed out, Mayoko said that, the 49ers, they're going to bring Deebo Samuel back. I'm looking at it right now, like, why? Because the things that made him special, he's just not doing those things right now, or he's not looking like that same guy. And they tried to get him the ball in space. They tried to do some of the things that were, okay, this is what Deebo does well. And it just hasn't quite looked the same. And it almost looks a little forced.
Isaac Guerendo, the rookie's first start at running back, and looked fantastic. Some big runs, some big catches. He had 50 yards on 2 catches, including that first one we talked about on the opening drive, which I loved, getting him the ball underneath in space. And he's a natural catcher of the football. Saw him open up his stride on a couple of plays, going over 100 or going over 20 miles per hour as a ball carrier with his GPS tracking I saw during the game. A couple of the faster runs this week. And 15 carries, 78 yards, and those 2 touchdowns. Able to plunge it in from short, too. So big ups for the rookie, Isaac Guerendo. He looked pretty good out there, and that was really fun to see his foot is not, I don't think, just judging by the way he's running on the sideline, that his foot injury is a big problem, but we'll definitely have to monitor that. Yet another running back injury, but big ups to the rookie. Played well out there. Look, he was ready for his number to get called, Croc.
I think one of the things that kind of get forgotten with him was, he was originally a receiver and kind of worked in as a running back. And then, early on for the 49ers, they were kind of using him in this pass catching type way during like OTAs and training camp. And now you're seeing it all put together. He's running well. It looks like he's kind of seeing the field well. I will say he needs to start to lower his pads a little bit because he took some shots. And the first guy that came to mind for me was like Frank Gore. I'm not comparing Guerendo to Frank Gore, but Frank Gore, you never saw him take big hits. It was almost like he knew how to kind of duck, and maybe that's why he played so damn long in the NFL. But he was able to kind of maneuver his body to where he wasn't going to take shots straight on, and he kind of duck under them and never take like a carry for a negative yards. Well, Guerendo, I don't know if it's his upright running style, but he's running through those holes. I mean, you look at some of his first couple carries, and he's taking these shots, bow, bow, bow. And I'm like, okay, dude, you got to lower your pads a little bit, or you got to do something a little different. Or maybe you need to call Frank Gore and ask Frank Gore, hey, how do you avoid taking these shots straight on? Because he took some big hits. But just watching him kind of feel his way through, start to pick up, some yards on the ground. Obviously, he had that big 30-yard gain, getting around the right side. And I was telling my bro, I'm like, look, I get it. It doesn't look great from play to play, but this guy is a big play back. He's going to spring a big runoff. And sure enough, boom, down the right sideline. Love seeing that. And then the pass catching element, being able to catch passes downfield, tracking them in, and just opening up a whole different element to his game that opposing teams moving forward have to worry about. I was very pleased with what we saw from Guerendo today, aside from him leaving the game with a foot injury.
Absolutely. Ton more game balls to give out from the 49ers 38-13 win over the Chicago Bears. Next. This episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including history, economics, the great works of literature, and probably something you haven't studied in a while, right? Did you study them at all much in school? Probably not recently, right? So even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever, tune in wherever, plus you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, or just enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. This episode also brought to you by Prize Picks. And if you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks and playing along with the games. The easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. And here's where you need to check it out. You can now win up to 200 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. So, for example, you think Travis Kelce is going to have more than 70 receiving yards, or Lamar Jackson more or less than 250 yards throwing, quick, simple, and pick 2 or more. And if you get those correct, then you are in the money. And the more you get right, the more you win. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play just $5. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, we got to go to Jauan Jennings, who's just filling up the end zone. And as we talked about Debo and not having the best season, Jauan Jennings is phenomenal. He's already career high in receiving yards. He's coming close to 1,000. Has he already gone over 1,000 receiving yards actually in this game? 7 for 90, 2 tutties in this game, and just a phenomenal football player, blocking his butt off down the field, and little extracurriculars sometimes after the game. By the way, I don't want to derail the the flowers for Jennings, who absolutely deserves a game ball in this game. But the Bears doing a little too much in this game, Croc. Not only the Purdy hit and 49 Edmonds, like every play Edmonds, like the play's over, the tackle's been made, the play's over, the whistle's blown, he's like trying to rip the ball out. Like, what are you doing, dude? Good job. After the play, all pro. Like, what? I don't know. It seemed like the Bears were doing a little bit too much. I don't think the 49ers appreciate it, especially after the Purdy injury. And luckily, Purdy jogged back on the field after that.
Yeah, the Purdy injury play was weird because defenders are kind of put in a tight spot. You got quarterbacks that hang onto the ball, they drop down. You don't know, can I hit them? Can I not? Minka Fitzpatrick earlier in the game against the Cleveland Browns, Jameis Winston's running at him, and he's like, do I go and hit him? Do I go hit? No. And all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, Jameis Winston picks up a first down, and then you kind of just like put your arm out and tackle him. I'm like, guys don't even know how to tackle players nowadays. But I did see the Purdy play where the defender jumped in the air, and, Purdy was like pump faking, and he's trying to find that right angle, and the guy just kind of comes down on him. But unfortunately for Purdy, there was like another guy tackling him, so then he gets like bent back really awkward. I don't think that it was intentional to like bend him backwards the way that they did. I don't think that's what they were trying to do.
He kind of hung on for the ride using Brock's head, which I think was the egregious part and the thing that ticked off 49ers players. So he could have, released that and just gone down. And so, that's something that should definitely get penalized. But he was also, he was hung out to dry because he was in midair, and he was in midair when Brock let go of the football. And then he just, unfortunately for Brock, he kind of got bent backwards because he got high load there from the back with one guy. And then who was Darrell Taylor came over the top, and just can't hang on his head like that. So I didn't like that. But you started to see a lot after the plays. And I don't think the 49ers players appreciated it too much. I thought there might've been a little bit more of a scrap at some point in that game, but they ended up level headed because the Niners were able to just go down and score and then just celebrate instead.
There was some chippiness going on. And you started off talking about Jauan Jennings, and there was a pass breakup in the fourth quarter. Jalen Johnson had on Jennings, and he got up and got right in Jennings' face. And he's like, he's doing that whole thing. One part of me wanted to record that and send that to my players because I love guys that don't stop competing. I don't care what the score is. You can't, start to play down to whatever the scoreboard says. Like if your standard is up here, no matter what is going on in the game, you have to play with that same kind of intensity. So from that standpoint, I appreciate Jalen Johnson and the chippiness and all that, especially knowing Jauan Jennings and how he can kind of get under players' skin at times. But Jauan Jennings had a terrific game. So if he's, hooting and hollering and trolling guys, he deserved every right to do so. Another couple of touchdowns. You talked about what he did through the air. I think he's approaching 800 yards on the season. A great year for him, especially for a guy I'll never forget. Every time I see him do something very well, I always go back to how in the offseason I felt like he was probably like the most replaceable player that the 49ers had. And right now he's showing big time value. Like not only am I not replaceable, Croc, I am here to do whatever y'all need. You need me to be a big slot? Cool. You need me to go outside and play a little bit more X? Cool. I could do that too. You need me to just block 100 times a game? I can do that too. You need me to be the Dennis Rodman of this team and just get under your opponent's skin and do that all game with my colored hair like Dennis Rodman? I can do that too. So I have grown to have this appreciation for Jauan Jennings and what he brings to the 49ers. And I'm really big on guys just kind of having their role, playing their role. And I think that he plays his role at one of the highest levels that you can.
And it's not like, okay, he's getting a lot of opportunities, so he's leading the 49ers in receptions. He's the 49ers' best receiver right now. He's just downright good. Gets open, makes catches. A little after the catch.
He said the play earlier in the game, a defender reached out, boom, knocked the ball in the air, and he tracked that ball in and was able to grab it without it getting intercepted. Just little things like that. I think I value a whole lot with his game. Just not just the yards, not just the touchdowns, but just that consistent scrappiness to be whatever the 49ers need from one play to the next.
Purdy, I get you know what? We kind of just give the game balls to just about everybody on the offensive side of the ball, and before we move on to the defense too. Purdy probably deserves the game ball. He missed a couple of the deep throws in this game, but he was still 20 of 25 for 325 yards passing and a couple of touchdowns. He was only sacked one time. He had a perfect rating for a lot of the game, ended up with a 145.4 passer rating. It was awesome. The crowd was chanting his name, and he was able to trot back on the field after Brandon Allen came onto the field for one play after that injury and that play we just talked about. So it was good to see him on the field. And it was also like, hey, Kyle, let's get him out of the game. Might be a good indicator to get some of these guys out. And and so then Brandon Allen ended up coming back in and playing the rest of the game at quarterback after that. So good on Brock Purdy. And my last one on offense, Croc, and I just the offensive line. Chris Furster is probably who I would give it to. And we learned, I don't know how we didn't know this story about his wife passing away the week before the Super Bowl last year. And, obviously we talked about all the adversity and all the stuff the 49ers have gone through, and injuries on the 49ers offensive line down to the third left guard in Spencer Burford after Barch got hurt in this game. And they were running the ball, kept Brock clean, mentioned the 1 sack for 4 yards. And so the offensive line played a really nice game, being undermanned and injured as well. So shout out to the 49ers, really offense as a whole. Kyle, Furster, playmakers making plays. Phenomenal.
Defensive side of the ball, I thought the defensive line did a really good job. So can we start by giving a game ball to Yetur Gross-Matos, 3 sacks on the day. And I thought overall he did a really good job of just generating pressure, even if it was not him getting to the quarterback, right? I mean, Williams is an interesting quarterback because he has this athletic ability where he can kind of escape. And we saw times where he was able to get around the corner. He likes to extend plays at times, but just Gross-Matos' ability to kind of at times keep him balled up, or even just to hold D-line, but to capitalize on it. I know he had the 2 sacks late, but he had a sack early on in the game as well, on one of the first drives of the game. I thought he was really good. Leonard Floyd, he bent the corner, had a sack early in this game, and just watching him, I'm like, that's what, between both of those guys, they were the 49ers like 2 big signings on defense to start free agency. And to see them have a combined 4 sacks, obviously 3 from Gross-Matos, but that to me, that was big, because we've been talking about how the 49ers, they have not been able to get that consistent pressure. And to see it in this game on a quarterback that is able to move around, held them to like 25 passing yards in the first half. And when I say 25 passing yards, it was like 25 passing yards from Williams, but team passing, they might have had like 5 passing yards because of the amount of sacks that he took. So that was a tremendous job by not just Gross-Matos, but the defensive line in general.
Yeah, so 7 sacks for negative 46 yards and only 134 passing totals. So yeah, about 90 net passing yards there for
not 94 net passing yards, because Tyler Badgett gave you 6.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Tyler Badgett came in there and did a little something as well. And yeah, Yetur with 3, Floyd credited with 2 sacks, Malik Collins credited with the sack, and it's what the 49ers needed. They needed that. Huge, absolute game ball for Yetur Gross-Matos to be able to come in and give the 49ers something without Nick Bosa. And it's something you got to do, and it's the way you beat a rookie quarterback, especially Caleb Williams, who holds on to the ball and gets sacked a ton. You got to take advantage of that. And the 49ers defensive line did. So good on them.
My bad on that. I said 4 sacks combined between the 2 guys, 5 sacks.
Don't short him. Don't short him. And slowly Leonard Floyd, because Leonard Floyd hasn't like blown me away, but he's creeping towards the double-digit sack territory. It's kind of just like he's just ho-hum. He's that guy, and that's where he's going to end the season.
So next, what is that, 8.5 on the season for him now?
I believe that is correct. Yeah. More on the defensive side of the ball. More from the Week 14 blowout win. 49ers running away from the Chicago Bears, 38-13. Next. This episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get ready to tackle all the NFL action right now on FanDuel, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win that first $5 bet. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL, of course, all the weekly lines. You can place live bets on the NBA, NHL. You can find snooker action. You can find action on combat sports, motorsports, whatever it is. You can find all of it, and tons of NFL props and college football bets as well to be made at FanDuel. And when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, go check out the website, FanDuel.com, and find all the latest stats, live play-by-play, and so much more. and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports book partner of the NFL. So staying on the defensive side of the ball, Croc, I want to give out a game ball to Talanoa Hufanga. Came back from injury and made an immediate impact. And I don't want to overstate Talanoa Hufanga's impact, but the way he was making plays early in the game and the way the defense was playing was like, was he the magic seasoning all along that the 49ers were missing on the defensive side of the ball? It felt like it. And then I got worried because I saw Jair Brown back in and Hufanga wasn't in the game. And I think that was just a way to limit his snaps a little bit and kind of work in all three of the safeties, because I think it was a pretty big indicator that the 49ers, when Talanoa Hufanga came back, Croc, and was in the starting lineup again, it was Jair Brown that left the starting lineup. And it was Malik Mustafa, the rookie, that started next to Talanoa Hufanga in this game. And the safeties were both really good. Jair Brown came in the game, gives up a touchdown to Rome Odunze, which was really tough. I love that route where it looks like a shallow cross and goes under the first linebacker. And then Odunze splits the linebackers and hits the seam and then splits the safeties as well. And Jair Brown's kind of has his eyes on the first player that takes him away and leaves that void in the middle of the field. It's a good play design. And it was a nice route by Odunze, and Jair Brown's a little late getting there, so you don't want to crush him too hard and be like, oh, he's terrible. But clearly it was different seeing Talanoa Hufanga in there. And I thought Talanoa Hufanga is the guy who's going to for sure walk in free agency. But after seeing this game, and we'll see how he ends the season, he's a pretty important player, impactful for sure.
It might be one of those things where it's more beneficial for him to stay with the 49ers. So they give him like a 1-year contract type thing. I mean, do you think this is an extension that's multiple years for him?
I mean, I'm sure that's what he wants, and he's been an all-pro player. He deserves some money. Safeties aren't getting paid a lot in the NFL right now. So with the injuries and stuff, would he want to have come back just on a 1-year deal and just kind of have a healthier season and then cash in next offseason? Maybe the money's not there. I don't know. That might benefit the 49ers and allow them to bring him back for one more year in that sort of a case. Can they afford to do a long-term deal if there's some teams out there that are willing to dole out the dollars to him? Yeah, it's a tough one because I don't know how much money's out there for safeties in the NFL right now. Like the top guys can still get paid, but I don't know if Hufanga is going to see that money or not. And if he does, I think he still might end up walking just because where the 49ers are with salary cap. But I mean, if this game was an indicator, he's pretty darn important because it looked different. And part of it might have been the opponent, I think, too. But Hufanga, game ball. Love seeing him back out there, making plays from jump.
Yeah, I think I go with another young guy. I mean, I thought Ronaldo Green had a good game. Near interception late in that game while defending DJ Moore on the deep end. Those are one of the more difficult routes to defend when a guy kind of, gets inside leverage, breaks his route off, flattens it off, tries to, cut across the field. And for the defender to be able to undercut that and nearly intercept, he got both hands up there. I thought that was a terrific job by the rookie. Someone earlier asked about, the long-term pairing between Lenoir and Ronaldo Green. I think that's something that I'm excited to see, kind of how those guys are utilized moving forward.
Absolutely. Is there a little bit of a changing of the guard with D Winters too? Because he was on fire right to start the game. Noticed him immediately. Campbell was still on the field a lot, but then there was some downs later in the game where it was D Winters and not Devondre Campbell on the field. And so, with the Hufanga thing and with the rotation of defensive linemen, with Malik Mustafa getting the start over Jair Brown, I think the 49ers kind of looked at themselves in the mirror this week and said, okay, where's some places where we might need to change things a little bit? And how are we going to, how is this rotation going to look? Can we give some other guys more looks? And it sounds like maybe they're a little bit more confident in D Winters right now and allow him to get out there and play a little bit more. So that's probably, it's a good sign for Winters that they believe in him. And, if the 49ers can get a little bit more dynamic play from the other linebacker who's not Fred Warner, it's pretty important. But also, hopefully, Dre Greenlaw saw him on the sideline in this game. Hopefully, he's on his way back too. And so, that's pretty big, Croc, to all of a sudden get guys like Hufanga and Dre Greenlaw back on the defense, right? For the stretch run, if you need to like win a whole bunch of games, and the 49ers might. Seahawks won, Rams won.
Rams beat the Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen accounting for 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Oh man,
and the Rams still won.
Josh Allen did me a big favor in my fantasy leagues, I'll tell you that. And even got him down at the end. It wasn't able to get the ball back and score one more time because they were down 9, ended up losing. The Bills did 44-42, just a shootout. But for the Rams to be able to step toe-to-toe with the team we just saw dismantle the 49ers last week. Now, that was at their house in snow. I get it. But the Rams are just that team where, like, one week it's like, oh, this team's not that good. And then they'll be able to play a game like that and go toe-to-toe with the Bills and beat them. And a ridiculous catch on the sideline from Puka Nacua in that game. He's a really good player. Obviously, Matthew Stafford's a really good quarterback, too. They're a well-coached team. Young defense that's kind of trying to find its way. Obviously, they allowed 42 points, that defense did in this game. But, man, Niners have to win a whole bunch of games. And maybe they're poised to do that, because when you see a performance like this from the 49ers, it makes you feel like, yeah, maybe they could go on that run, right? Just after you're so down on them after the last couple of losses.
Nah, super down on them. I'm looking for 49ers still last, but tied for last, and they're still within striking distance, but they don't play Seattle Seahawks anymore. I think that's a tough thing, right? Because you still got the Rams, still got the Cardinals. So you are kind of in control of your own destiny with making up ground on those guys. But Seattle, sitting at 8-5 right now, the 49ers need a lot of help. I don't think that the 49ers make the playoffs without winning the NFC West. So you need some teams to start taking out the Seahawks. I was actually rooting for Arizona against Seattle because that would bring the 49ers a game closer, and the 49ers still play Arizona. So that was a tough one to watch, see how that played out.
Yeah, that was absolutely a game that 49ers fans were rooting for the Arizona Cardinals to win. So the Seahawks got a couple games on everybody in the NFC West right now, and the 49ers are going to need some help, and they're going to have to win a whole bunch of games and probably win out at this point. But when they play like they did on Sunday, Croc, they can do it. They can do it. Phenomenal performance. Start to finish, 4 quarters. They slammed the door. They closed out a game. They started fast, scored a touchdown on the opening drive. Like, they did everything we wanted them to do in this game. So good on the 49ers. They accomplished the goal. Check it off. Keep going. Keep it going.
Keep it going. Kicker did well as well, too. So
the rare Moody game ball. I haven't had one of those in a while.
I don't know if I'm giving the game ball, but, had a nice field goal kick. You know what I'm saying? Went through. Just, continue to kind of gain my trust, because right now it's been a little shaky. And even last week, he missed multiple field goals. One was really long, inclement weather, trying to kick in the snow. Robbie Gould was good as gold in those moments. So I'm not trying to put that pressure on him, but that's just kind of the expectations of kicking for the 49ers. So however you can kind of gain the trust of Eric Crocker, Brian Peacock, Kyle Shanahan, I think it starts with one kick at a time, and, nice kick today.
Good point in the chat.
He kicked the ball out of bounds. Never mind.
Yeah.
Take that game ball away. I forgot about that. That's what he does. There was a game where he kicked field goals good, but then he missed the extra point. He just, you know what? I don't know about the guy.
It's always something. All right. We'll be back tomorrow with more on the NFC West, those other games, those other teams, where the 49ers stand right now. Further injury reports on the San Francisco 49ers. Guys, they might get back. Some guys that were banged up in this football game, and you're hoping for the best for, Purdy, who had that awkward injury. You hope there's not like a neck thing that pops up, overnight with him, and he sleeps and wakes up and is like, oh, man, the neck is all tweaked. Guerendo, obviously, with the foot injury as well, and we'll check in on Hufanga, who was in and out of the game there, and hope he didn't hurt anything else, and that was just a planned pitch count for him coming back from injury. So all the latest on the San Francisco 49ers daily, as we do. Appreciate all the everydayers out there. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. Croc and I back tomorrow right here, Locked On 49ers.